Welcome back to Live from Paris here on France 24. I'm Mark Owen. These are the headlines. Controversy as it's claimed Donald Trump has paid no income tax for 10 of the past 15 years. And in the year he was elected, he paid only $750. The US president has condemned the investigation by the New York Times as fake news. Emmanuel Macron's to meet with the exiled Belarus opposition leader Svetlana Tikhanovskaya. The French president's in Lithuania, where it was agreed that the EU must place sanctions on Belarus and its president Alexander Lukashenko at its next summit. Fierce fighting over Nagorno-Karabakh. Azeri and Armenian troops blame each other for the flare-up this Monday. The UN Security Council is to meet on Tuesday to decide how to act to stop any further escalation of the conflict. This is Live from Paris. Thank you very much for being with us. No income tax paid for 10 of the last 15 years. $750 paid in his 2016 election year. Massive debts and a lavish lifestyle written off as a tax loss. Donald Trump has spent much of the day trying to deflect from the harsh expose of his alleged tax avoidance. The US president called the New York Times report fake news. He told a selected group of media that he's paid many millions of dollars in taxes and that he had many more assets than debt. But Trump provided no evidence and didn't promise to release any financial statements before the presidential election on November the 3rd. Let's bring in Kerevan Gorgistani, observing matters for us. Kerevan, tonight in Cleveland. Kerevan, good evening to you. I was gobsmacked when I saw this story. Tell us your reaction and the reaction that you've been gauging today.
Well, the reaction has been one of shock coming from most Americans here in the United States. People really shocked at this billionaire just not spending any money on his taxes. As you mentioned, he is said, according to this report from the New York Times, not to have paid any federal income tax in 10 of the past 15 years, as well as paying just $750 in 2016 and in 2017. This, of course, going completely against his image of the billionaire businessman who is successful at doing many deals. Now, the reaction came swiftly from the Biden campaign. They put out a campaign ad very quickly after that report from the New York Times came out. And that campaign ad simply compared what Donald Trump had paid in federal income tax compared to people like teachers or firefighters or nurses. And that really is something that is being used by the Biden campaign, something that the candidate himself had said just earlier in the month. He had made this campaign and this race about a race about between a candidate from Scranton, that small town in Pennsylvania where he was born, and the New Yorker, the Park Avenue candidate who only cares about Wall Street. This is a huge bombshell, but as you said, Donald Trump dismissing this as simply fake news.
Kerevan Gorgistani, I can see we're struggling. The weather's against us, but you are a professional. Thank you very much indeed. We'll leave it there. You get yourself into some kind of shelter, and Kerevan, of course, will bring us more reaction on this story as we go through there. But just to recap there, the New York Times, with its exclusive report saying that Donald Trump has paid income tax for just no income tax for 10 out of the past 15 years. And when he was elected in 2016 and the following year, 2017, as Kerevan pointed out, he paid just $750 in both of those years. The president condemning the New York Times as fake news, but providing no evidence to the contrary and not promising or not offering to make his tax details open reading. We'll bring you more as we get it. Let's take a look at the, basically remind you that Trump is head-to-head with his Democrat rival, Joe Biden. Full coverage and analysis of that, of course. It's happening tomorrow, Wednesday, of course, it'll be when it happens in the US. Very early hours of the morning here in Paris. And we'll have full coverage of that and reaction too. Voting date, November the 3rd, don't forget. Let's move on. Emmanuel Macron says the EU has to act over Belarus, speaking in Lithuania, with the agreement of his Lithuanian counterpart. He said the EU has to place sanctions on Minsk over the disputed re-election of Alexander Lukashenko on August the 9th. Macron's to meet with the Belarus opposition leader in exile, Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, on Tuesday.
Dialogue, mediation, and a path towards a solution for Belarus. At the start of his 3-day official visit to the Baltic states, French President Emmanuel Macron confirmed that a meeting would go ahead on Tuesday with exiled Belarusian opposition leader Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, as the future of her country hangs in the balance.
I will be meeting with Svetlana Tikhanovskaya tomorrow. Our position is very clear. We do not recognize the election of President Lukashenko, and so we don't recognize today his status as president-elect. So our wish is to reaffirm as Europeans that we need mediation that will allow fully and peacefully to draw consequences from the election result, and to get to a process that will fully recognize the civil society actors and enable a peaceful transition.
The French president will be Tikhanovskaya's most high-profile meeting since her country's disputed election in August, in which she helped inspire weeks of unprecedented mass protests against strongman Alexander Lukashenko's regime. One of the key issues expected to be on the table between the two leaders is impending sanctions by the European Union on Belarus, a delicate intervention, according to Tikhanovskaya.
Economic sanctions should be against businesses that support the Lukashenko regime, since ordinary people will suffer most from general economic sanctions. We don't need that.
Ahead of their meeting, Belarus's opposition leader also expressed hope that Macron could encourage Russian President Vladimir Putin, a key ally of Lukashenko, to take part in the dialogue.
There's been fierce fighting this Monday. Azerbaijan's troops facing off with the Armenian military. The UN is to meet to discuss the situation. Turkey's involvement is becoming a cause for concern, with Ankara openly standing with Azerbaijan while the Russians are backing Armenia. Moscow, though, apparently calling for a ceasefire. The dispute between the two countries is a long-time open wound. Nagorno-Karabakh is the territory disputed by Armenia and Azerbaijan since the breakup of the Soviet Union in 1991.
Fighting over the disputed region of Nagorno-Karabakh has regional heavyweight Turkey sticking out its neck. While Ankara has always been a backer of Azerbaijan, its involvement has increased in recent months. Animosity between Turkey and Armenia has been festering since the killing of some 1.5 million Armenians during World War I. Over 30 countries have labeled the killings genocide, a term rejected by Turkey. According to analysts, it views the current conflict as an opportunity to flex its muscle on the world stage while appealing to anti-Armenian sentiment at home.
Everyone must know that the relationship between Turkey and Azerbaijan is one of two countries, one people. We are one and together always, through pain and through pride. Again today, we are by the side of Azerbaijan in the defense of their lands.
High-level meetings are frequent between the two sides, and in the first 8 months of 2020, Turkish energy imports from Azerbaijan increased 25%. Closer ties with Turkey has given Baku the confidence to stand up to Russia. Moscow remains Armenia's closest ally in the conflict, although has relations with both sides.
Russia has always taken an equally weighted position. It's this position that gives Russia an opportunity to use its influence and traditionally friendly relations with both sides, with Azerbaijan and Armenia, in order to resolve this conflict.
The European Union, too, is calling on all sides to refrain from violence, warning of the risk to regional stability.
We're keeping an eye, of course, on all developments in Nagorno-Karabakh. Let's bring you some COVID-19 news. Here in France, President Macron has voiced his extreme concern about the situation. New measures came into force this Monday. 10 p.m. is now the new closing time for bars, pubs and clubs in Paris. This was the scene as 2200 hours came around. You see the terraces being cleared off. This, of course, by government order. With the positive case numbers up again by more than 4,000 over the past 24 hours and over 80 deaths, France has decided to take another stand against the pandemic. In Marseille, the measures are even more strict. Total closure for at least a 2-week period.
Chairs and tables stacked on top of each other. Bars and restaurants deserted. On a normal day, this area would be buzzing with activity. But on Monday morning, walking through the port of Marseille felt like the city was on lockdown all over again.
C'est très triste, mais bon, si c'est nécessaire, il faut le faire. Je pense que tout le monde en a conscience.
Ça fait un petit peu désert. Ils avaient dit qu'ils resteraient ouverts, mais apparemment, ils l'ont pas fait.
Desperate to avert the closure of their businesses, dozens of protesters blocked off a tunnel on Monday to voice their anger. This after the French government ordered all bars and restaurants to close down in Marseille for at least 2 weeks in an effort to contain the resurgence of COVID-19. A few hours earlier, residents came out to enjoy a last night out. Some restaurants were forced to give away some of their food. And as midnight struck, many still struggled to come to terms with the decision.
On se prend un bon coup de massue derrière la tête, quoi. On a fait en sorte d'équiper notre staff et même nos clients de tout ce qui est gel hydroalcoolique, masques, de distanciation sociale. Maintenant, on voit qu'on a beau avoir fait tout ça, ça ne sert pas à grand-chose.
Meanwhile, new restrictions are coming into effect from Monday night in 12 cities labeled as high risk, including Toulouse, Bordeaux and Paris, where bars must close at 10 p.m.
D'un point de vue financier, voilà, c'est moins dramatique. D'autre part, là, il y a les aides, il y a le chômage partiel qui va permettre de compenser les heures perdues.
Businesses that have a license to serve food will be exempt from the measure, but many have been quick to point out that people will continue to gather in shops, public transport and private homes, accusing the government of singling them out.
Emmanuel Macron's budget ministers unveiled a plan to kick-start the economy. The budget for 2021 aims to boost business by 8% over the next 12 months and help an overall recovery from the COVID-19 lockdown.
To face France's worst recession since the Second World War, 42 billion euros will be pumped into the economy in 2021 as part of the government's 100 billion euro 2-year recovery plan, focusing on creating a greener economy, boosting competitiveness and youth employment. An investment in order to save jobs and businesses that will pay off in the long run, according to French Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire.
We aim to create up to 240,000 jobs by 2022. Our goal is to get back to the same level of activity as before the crisis in 2019 during 2022.
National debt this year has surged to 10.2% of GDP after heavy spending on state-subsidised furlough schemes and business loans. The government hopes to reduce this to 6.7% in 2021, vowing that the deficit will not be repaid for a hike in taxes, instead cutting them by 45 billion euros for households and companies by the end of next year.
This is the biggest tax cut in France in 20 years. We will not raise taxes for the French people.
The government says the national debt will be repaid through recovered growth, cuts in public spending and major reforms, such as changes to the pension system, which were put on hold due to the coronavirus crisis. The economy is expected to shrink by a record 10% this year, but the government says it is convinced that France will bounce back quickly, forecasting an 8% jump in growth in 2021.
More on that in a moment with Kate Moody and the business. Thousands of residents of North California's Napa Valley have been ordered to evacuate their homes as wildfire quadrupled in size there. It now covers some 4,000 hectares, engulfing homes and vineyards in its path. So far this year, wildfires in California have burned over 1.5 million hectares of land, and it continues.